Breaking. The Supreme Court has ruled that drawing congressional districts based on race under the Voting Rights Act is unconstitutional, and they ruled 6-3. This is a huge win and could have massive ramifications for the 2026 midterms. Democrats for years have sued over and over again to force states like Louisiana to create black majority districts. Louisiana's map has now been thrown out. If SCOTUS ends up gutting the act, a dozen Democrat districts could flip red overnight. Let's listen to this report, and remember, you can send your reactions in the chat. Let me know what you think. Do you support this move by the Supreme Court? I would love to know what you think.
Good morning. Okay, so this at first blush here is a win for the plaintiffs who were not black plaintiffs. They were non-minority voters who challenged this decision. These two districts that were minority majority, essentially, Louisiana had drawn up districts, and then they were told in a legal battle that they had not represented black and minority voters sufficiently. They went back and drew a second district. So they had two of these minority majority districts. Well, then non-black voters sued and said, this is now violating our rights on the basis of race. So it looks like this is a 6-3 decision. There is one concurrence here, but it looks like the dissent sticks together with Justices Kagan, Sotomayor, and Jackson. But here's what the majority says. They say in some, because the Voting Rights Act did not require Louisiana to create an additional majority-minority district, no compelling interest justified the state's use of race in creating SB 8. That was those two new districts. That map is an unconstitutional gerrymander, and its use would violate the plaintiff's constitutional rights. Now, this opinion is almost 100 pages long, so we're going through to see if it says something more broadly about the Voting Rights Act. That had been the fear on the left, that somehow this decision, if it was favorable for those challenging these maps, that it would somehow do a big chunk out of the Voting Rights Act. Haven't gotten to language that suggests that yet. It sounds like this decision is primarily about what happened in Louisiana, so we'll keep digging through this. But for right now, it's a win for those who were challenging these two minority-majority districts. Now, as we read through this and figure out the broader implications, there were 20-plus districts across the country that would have potentially lined up with this decision. Yep. They could be open to challenges that they were drawn on the basis of race, or that it was the primary factor that was used in drawing those districts. Most of those are throughout the South. So we'll look to see if there's enough sweeping language in this particular decision that may have a domino effect on some 20 other districts. Could be huge for the midterms. We'll continue.
So why is this story important as an opener? Okay, why don't we have a zinger like something that Trump said or did? Because the midterms are coming up, guys. Okay, so since last year, the Democrats have been positioning the blue states to essentially redistrict or gerrymander in order to carve out new seats in Congress. And again, make those states bluer, if that's a word. Now, Texas successfully gerrymandered the state, and even though a lot of people said, look, that's not fair, gerrymandering isn't exactly fair, why is it that a red state like Texas is using the tools of the Democrats? I think it's because the rules changed. The rules changed. The Democrats decided that they were going to rewrite the rules. And now that the Republicans are saying, oh, you can do that too, everyone is freaking out. But the Supreme Court has essentially done something in several cases that we need to actually look at. And one of them is that the Supreme Court endorsed Texas's redistricting efforts because Texas wasn't redistricting along state racial lines. But California, Louisiana, all the blue states happen to have this obsession with race. Okay, so the party that talks about equality and equity and accuses the Republicans of being racist are the ones who are racist as hell. Now, what would this mean for the midterms? excuse me, and this is me being, or let's say not me, but this is the report being optimistic. I'm looking for an image that has the map. Okay, this is what the map currently looks like on the left. On the left, you have a lot of blue districts that have been created because those districts were those lines were drawn up because of racial configurations. But with the Supreme Court's decision, the map on the right is what it looks like. So it looks like the Democrats could gain 12 more seats leading up to the midterms if this holds. So it sounds exciting, but it's still a little ways out before we see this play out. Now, that doesn't mean that Republicans should rest on their oars and say, well, the lines have been redrawn and everything is fine. Let's not go out and vote. It's essentially more important for Republicans to be aware of what's going on. Well, this is a win for the Trump administration, and the usual suspects are rolling out their tweets. Barack Obama jumped onto X to say today's Supreme Court decision effectively, okay, I can't do that. Today's Supreme Court decision effectively guts a key pillar of the Voting Rights Act. It doesn't gut anything. The Supreme Court was simply interpreting the laws on the books. That's what courts do. They interpreted the laws on the books to say you can't redistrict along racial lines. That's all they did. And Barack Hussein, race grifting Obama, doesn't like it. All right, so freeing state legislatures to gerrymander legislative districts to systematically dilute and weaken the voting power of racial minorities. This guy is just full of it. So long as they do it under the guise of partisanship rather than explicit racial. Is it just me, or is the allure or the magic of Obama has it's worn off? It's just dead. I'm reading this and I'm like, what are you talking about? The Supreme Court has given you guys a ruling that says this is what the law says. You guys can't use race as the criteria for creating these new districts. Well, Obama essentially, he's not happy about the decision coming from the Supreme Court, and you know what? We don't care. This is coming from the same guy who, after the shooting over the weekend, put out this post. Although we don't yet have the details about the motives behind last night's shooting, the guy literally just told you why he was shooting up. He planned on shooting up the place. His manifesto was out there already. All right, so let's just ignore that. It's a win. Trump essentially is celebrating. And guess what? More winning for the president. President Trump has officially signed the CR. I think this was yesterday. Signed the CR to reopen the government from the Schumer shutdown. Trump refused to budge. Not a single penny went to illegals, as Chuck Schumer and the Democrat Party wanted. Great work, 47. So let's watch this. So this is him signing the CR. Now the question is, what did the Democrats gain? Okay, if you're watching, let me know in the chat. What do you think the Democrats gained? What was so important that they had to put Americans through so much pain? They didn't fund DHS queues at the airports. So much pain to Americans, and they somehow want it to be Trump's fault. This comment says, translation: leftist liberal Marxist Democrats got nothing for all the financial pain and inconvenience they caused the American tax-paying public with the third Schumer shutdown. You have to be a very special kind of stupid to vote for any Democrat politician. Do you agree? Do you agree? Now, there's a poll that essentially I put up a poll earlier, and just take the poll real quick. Do you think James Comey's photo on the beach, 8647, was a call for violence? Okay, so let me know that, because I want to know your thoughts, because an indictment has come down. You've seen it in the news. I think we talked about it yesterday. Is it going to lead to a conviction? Because we all see the double standard coming from the left, and I just want to get that poll out of the way to know what you guys think. I'm seeing responses that say 100% yes, he should be. His photo is a call for violence, or was a call for violence. So let me know what you think. Fantastic. This commenter says the next executive order should be to defund Congress for the rest of this year and focus on indicting all participants of the Democrats' overthrow of the legitimate government of the United States of America. These guys have weaponized government shutdowns. They've weaponized it. They are essentially holding the American people hostage in order to get their own way. Now, remember, I have said this several times during past live streams. ICE had already been funded for the next 3 years. The shutdown was absolutely useless. It was all an optics game for them. It was all about optics, how the American people perceive them. And they were hoping that the American people would look at President Trump as the bad guy. Now, I don't know if I should play this, but I think this comment...
The comment related to maximum warfare everywhere, all the time, in connection with the redistricting battle that Republicans launched. I stand by it. You can continue to criticize me for it. I don't give a damn about the criticism.
Guys, this is the Democrat Party, guys. This is the Democrat Party. Look, it's hard to take Democrats seriously, but you can't fault their resolve. They held the country hostage for how many days? It's wild to watch how they essentially double down on insanity and expect the rest of us to see it as a virtue. So what do you think about the signing of the CR? Now, there were fireworks on Capitol Hill today. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth just unleashed fury to the Democrats' faces. He says the biggest adversary we face at this point are the reckless, feckless, and defeatist words of congressional Democrats and some Republicans 2 months into a conflict. He's right. Let's have a listen.
President Trump, unlike other presidents, has had the courage to ensure Iran never gets a nuclear weapon, and he's ironclad in that. We have the best negotiator in the world driving that deal. The biggest challenge, the biggest adversary we face at this point are the reckless, feckless, and defeatist words of congressional Democrats and some Republicans 2 months in, I remind you, 2 months in to a conflict. Lest I remind you, and my generation understands how long we were in Iraq, how long we were in Afghanistan, how long we were in Vietnam. 2 months in on an existential fight for the safety of the American people, Iran cannot have a nuclear bomb. We are proud of this undertaking. I am proud that President Trump has had the courage to do it, and I look forward to sharing more about what our troops have accomplished. So I thank you again for the opportunity to address this committee.
All right, so he continues, and there were a lot of things that were said over the last couple of months concerning the war in Iran. Not everyone is excited about war. I'm not a fan of war, but I would rather have a problem taken care of before it gets out of hand. So here's what he says again. Secretary of War slams Representative Garamendi. I watched you call this a quagmire on CNN this morning. Now we're going to play that statement by the representative. I think this is the video that Pete Hegseth is talking about. Let's have a listen.
I don't believe a thing the president says. He lies every day, gets up in the morning, lies, and goes to bed at night lying. In between, there is just one statement after the other, which is foolish and not supported by any of the evidence. Secretary Hegseth does the same. They've never explained to the America why we went to war and what they expect to do. Not change that. Actually, they have a different explanation every other hour.
So again and again, President Trump has said Iran cannot have a nuclear bomb. They said again and again that was why they were going to war. And the Democrats circle back every time trying to convince us that they never said that. Okay, so this is the thing. The Democrats for over 20 years have campaigned on Iran cannot have a nuclear bomb. Barack Obama, during his presidential debate within the Democrat Party, talked about Iran never having a nuclear bomb during his campaign. So when you hear these people so many years later talking like this, they want you to believe that that they were never in favor of Iran being attacked if they made any attempt at getting a nuclear bomb. Hillary Clinton said the same thing too. Now Trump is doing it, and suddenly it's a huge problem. He's creating chaos. This was a matter of policy for the United States for decades, and suddenly, because you guys hate President Trump so much, you're willing to put the United States, the future of the United States and Europe and the Middle East at risk by tying his hands so that he doesn't take care of a rising problem.
The bottom line is that this is a war that has been conducted with chaos. This is a war that has been extraordinarily expensive, depleting our key munitions and depriving the Indo-Pacific of the assets it needs, the Navy and the like. Bottom line is, we're stuck.
So these are the same guys. And it's so poignant that you can see the chyron at the bottom of the screen. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. These guys shipped billions of dollars worth of equipment, bombs to Ukraine. At some point, there were fears that they were depleting the munitions of the United States Army in favor of Ukraine. And he's sitting there trying to lecture the rest of us that the war in Iran is depleting, the military resources and leaving America defenseless. These guys are just full of it.
America is stuck in another Middle East quagmire. Thank you, Mr. Trump. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. This is what you've done for the American people.
So that is what Pete Hegseth was referring to, or is about to address in this speech. So let's have a listen.
But if I may.
Sure. Yeah.
I didn't get a chance. I didn't see a question in the statement from the congressman. I hope you appreciate how reckless it is. When I said reckless, feckless, and defeatist of congressional Democrats at the beginning, that came after watching you say the same thing on CNN this morning, a quagmire. My generation served in a quagmire in Iraq and Afghanistan, years and years of nebulous missions and utopian nation building that led us to nothing. What we have right now, the way you stain the troops when you tell them 2 months in, Congressman, you should know better. Shame on you. Calling this a quagmire 2 months in. The effort, what they've undertaken, what they've succeeded, the success on the battlefield that could create strategic opportunities, the courage of a president to confront a nuclear Iran, and you call it a quagmire, handing propaganda to our enemies. Shame on you for that statement. And statements like that are reckless to our troops. Don't say I support the troops on one hand, and then a 2-month mission is a quagmire. That's a false equivalation. Who are you cheering for here? Who are you pulling for? Our troops are doing incredible work. They've done incredible things for the entirety of this mission and achieved incredible battlefield successes. And you sit there and go on TV for your clickbait about quagmires. It undermines the mission. Your hatred for President Trump blinds you to the truth of the success of this mission and the historic stakes that the president is addressing, which the American people support. Iran's been at war with us for 47 years. You want to talk about a forever war? For 2 months, this president has stared them down. He's going to get a better deal than anyone ever has and ensure that Iran never has a nuclear weapon. I know the American people support that mission, despite your loose talk and words like quagmire.
All right. So, guys, now, real talk, okay? Real talk, to be honest, not everyone, who supports President Trump supports war. But two things can be true at the same time. You can say, look, I don't know about this war. I don't think we want to get into another war. But at the same time, you can say, look, we voted for President Trump and he has information that we don't. Okay, we can sit here and armchair quarterback all we want. But we voted him in to be the commander-in-chief. He gets these security and intelligence briefings, and he makes decisions based on the counsel of the Joint Chiefs. He isn't unilaterally making decisions. What the Democrats and CNN and TDSBC and The View would have us believe is that Trump is just sitting on the toilet with his phone, posting on Truth Social and directing the military from his potty. That's what they want us to believe, but that's not true. All right, you know it, I know it, they know it, but they want to build a caricature of a president which isn't real. They need to do that. Why? Because they're losing on every policy position. Okay, they're losing on every policy position. Let's see. Lieutenant Sergeant L says, I fought in the quagmire. This latest operation is exactly what we should have done to begin with and saved a literal metric shit ton of money, blood, and valorous Americans. When you talk to soldiers who served, they all support what the president is doing. All of them, the ones who served. Anyone who claims to be a veteran and they're the ones protesting on Capitol Hill, look, all you have to do is dig a little deeper. And here's my bet. It's a bet. I'm not saying it's definite, but here's what I think. None of them ever went into these theaters of war in the Middle East. They never did. They just sat in the safety of some administrative role stateside, and they're all political. They're all left-leaning because they haven't stared the enemy in the face or looked him in the eye. They haven't seen the catastrophe and the chaos that these people who run these countries essentially, inflict on their people. Garamendi is a total disgrace. Good on Hexeth calling him out to his face. Democrats are and always have been a stain on our nation. They always side with the enemies. Patricia always would tell us when the situation in Vietnam popped off. The thing was that it was the Democrats who created the problem, sent in the soldiers, and then acted like they had nothing to do with the war. And then essentially served up the men and women in uniform to be fodder. They were abused. They were seen as baby killers. They were called baby killers because the same Democrats who sent them to war told them, basically tied their hands. They tied their hands. They were not allowed to prosecute the war that they were shipped off to prosecute. And so many of them died. Most of the equipment that could have saved their lives was held stateside. So it's just frustrating, guys. It's frustrating to watch these politicians. They want to sound virtuous. They want to sound like they are the savior of humanity, but they're just evil people who just want to stay in power. Now, let's step aside for a bit and get some justice. All right, so a grand jury has indicted 2 anti-ICE protesters who violently assaulted Savannah Hernandez while she was reporting outside an ICE facility in Minneapolis. So in case you are not aware of that incident, here's the incident as it happened. All right, so she was essentially ganged up on by a group of anti-ICE protesters. Like, these people are cowards. These people are cowards. They will look for someone who is defenseless and innocent, and they will attack. Okay? So this happened in Minnesota. And last week, there were reports that the state of Minnesota wasn't going to pursue this and deal with it. And so Harmeet Dillon was tweeted at and asked if she could do something about this. And then she said she's on it. And boy, is she on it. Okay. So a grand jury has essentially indicted them, and they are being brought up on federal charges. The state isn't going to do anything about it, so the federal government is stepping in to deal with this. Now, there's this obsession with these. Okay, oh God. I have to contain myself, guys, so I'm sorry. Okay, this is not one of those podcasts or live streams where profanity just flies. I don't know if you're okay with that. Let me know in the chat. I don't do profanity, but here are these guys, okay, and they do the most profane things. Like, what is it with fighting ICE? Okay, yeah. So Tony is in the chat, and Tony essentially he doesn't care. He's going to just let it fly. What is it with these guys and sex toys? Like, what is it with these weirdos and sex toys? I don't know. Can someone tell me why in the chat? Because, like, why is it that when you look at these protests, most of the protesters have a sexual fetish? Yesterday, we looked at one of those protests outside an ICE facility, and there was a guy in a dress. There's a guy in a dress. I watched the anti-ICE protests in Portland, and I was scared of live streaming or covering that, because these people would routinely get someone who was stark naked, and just walk into the camera frame. And that was intentional, because they wanted the live stream that was covering the insanity that they were doing to be taken down. What is it with them and sexual deviancy? I don't know, guys. Let me know in the chat. Am I the only one who noticed it? Please let me know in the chat. So they assaulted Savannah with a dildo to the face. I hope they get put away for many years. We've watched that video already. Okay, absolute savages, like a pack of hyenas out for blood. Thank goodness for the DOJ and all its investigative power. This type of unhinged behavior has to stop. Savannah did her best to walk away from these lunatics, and they still attacked her. So Antifa should be designated. They already are. They already are. Tony says it's purposely chosen because look at the pic. Well, yeah. Like, it's disturbing, guys. It's disturbing. It's supposed to look humiliating for the victim, and it is. These are the people who want to set themselves on a pedestal, and claim like they have this higher morality. They have a higher morality, and they will choose to essentially SA somebody who doesn't agree with them. It's like what the Islamists do in Iran. It's like what the Islamists do to their enemies. They sexually assault their enemies' women to demoralize, to essentially in their books, it is a power play. That is what the left does. Like, can't you see that marriage, that connection between the left and Islam? It's like it's hard to unsee it once you see it. There's this thing about shaming you sexually while claiming that they are the high moral authority. Just like these protesters would use sex toys to abuse and to try to shame somebody who is on the other side of them politically, and yet try to claim that they are the high moral authority because they want everyone to be able to break into the country without being vetted. It's really bizarre. Yeah, so this is one of the guys who caught the indictment. If a coexist bumper sticker was a person, that's his face. All right. And then this is another, I hope Mr. Emoji enjoys prison. But that's crazy. The emoji and the guy are so strikingly similar. Now, I don't want to play this video of Hassan Piker, okay? But I'm going to leave the text on the screen for you to read. This is what he said in this video, okay? Hassan Piker says, kill the MFers and let the streets soak in their red capitalist buh, okay? Now, this is the most influential spokesperson for the Democrat Party on Twitch. This guy gets millions and millions of views every month. He's a millionaire. He's a left-wing commentator / influencer, and this is the kind of stuff he says routinely. The left is essentially the party of political violence. All right? They are the party of political violence. Okay, now everyone suddenly loves law and order when it's their side getting punched. Now, this is one of those things that concerns me, okay? The law has to work the way the law works. The law has to function without anyone trying to manipulate it in order to favor them. I don't know why I'm pontificating, and this is getting boring, but without you guys talking back at me in the chat. But essentially, if they get indicted because of their actions, if they get, just what I said, why do leftists always carry around dildos? These people are effing twisted and sick. Let the law work the way the law should work, okay? Of course, the left is going to say that is the weaponization of the justice system. We don't care. It is there are laws on the books, and those laws are being enforced. It's like what we read earlier with the redistricting situation with Louisiana and Obama stepping out and pretending to be outraged. The Supreme Court interpreted the laws on the books. There was nothing about any side getting disenfranchised. There's nothing about any race getting disenfranchised. Everything was working as it should, but Democrats decided that it is more beneficial for them to gerrymander their states into becoming Democrat strongholds. And the Supreme Court says you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to gerrymander along racial lines. And once they said that, it affects every single Democrat state that has ever gerrymandered. And if it resets the map, it's going to be a bad year for the Democrat Party. All right. Now, here's Charlemagne the God. Okay. Disgusting. Charlemagne justifies the assassination attempt on Trump. All right. So let's have a listen. And guys, you know, I called it. I said it as the assassination story was developing on Saturday that this was going to happen.
The Trump administration has caused so much pain to people's everyday lives that some folks are fed up and willing to risk it all.
Did the Obama administration cause pain in the lives of Americans? If you're here and you recall certain things within the Biden years or the Obama years that caused pain to you, let me know in the chat. Now, I know that there are lots of people who were affected by policies under Obama. There are others who were affected by policies under Joe Biden. None of the conservatives ever called for violence against these people. None. I don't recall any. And you know what? Democrats would always say it's happening on both sides. Then when you ask them, okay, so provide evidence that it happened. Show us those videos that we have lots of, okay, of your side. Show us videos of our side doing exactly what your side just did. They can't produce it. It's crazy.
Simple as that. Yeah. And if you're going to talk about anybody toning down violent political rhetoric, start with the president, Donald J. Trump.
So the president has never said 86 this person, 86 that person. Okay, he has never called for anyone to fight Democrats in the streets, like Hakeem Jeffries has said. Of course, we played that video yesterday. So exactly what I called on Saturday, I said, look, these guys were going to step out and begin to blame Republicans and President Trump for the violent rhetoric. Now, here's one of those things that I like to see. Really, I would say the Democrat Party has caused so much pain and suffering for innocent Americans. Every person in this photo collage should be alive, but they were all murdered by an illegal alien. Look at it. Look at that. Okay. Now, when the leftists try to bring up their false equivalency, who do they trot out? Okay. Nicole Good, Alex Pretty. Okay, 2. And what were they doing? Were they going for a jog when an illegal alien grabbed them, attempted to assault them, and then bashed their head in? Were they minding their business and got dragged under a bridge and assaulted and murdered? No, they were obstructing the enforcement of federal law. That's who the Democrat Party is. They run cover for criminals, predators, and illegal aliens. That is what the Democrat Party has become. All right? The Democrats have reached the murder your political opponents stage of democracy. Okay, so of course, it's almost like the news cycle has moved on from the assassination attempt. People have moved on because there wasn't any casualty. The would-be assailant didn't kill anyone, and then he wasn't killed. It's going into the ether until the hearings begin and he's convicted, because he is going to spend the rest of his life in prison. He is. You can't fix stupid, but you can muffle it with duct tape. So here's how muffle stupid. Well, it's not like you can do that, because they're always going to be out there talking and trying to get people to see things their way or do things their way. But conservatives have to get politically active. We have to get politically active. Okay. I try to encourage that by saying, look, let me know what you think in the chat and let's have a conversation. Tell me what you think so that you begin to learn how to put your thoughts out there and engage. It's really easy to sit back and watch a show and smile and laugh. I do it a lot too with certain shows that I watch. Okay, not because I can't speak, but the conversations tend to be things that I can't exactly give any articulation to the thoughts. And most of those shows work with super chats, so you can't just put up comments and have your comments read out like we do here. So I tend to be on the reserve side, but I guess I understand why people don't want to engage, or like gardening LSB, who I know he's watching right now. He's watching on his TV screen, okay, and he's like, okay, I'm watching on my TV screen. Most of you are watching on your TV screen, and you can't chat. I know that. But we have to get out there and make our voices heard. We have to learn how to engage. We have to learn how to get out there and vote. The midterms are coming, and it would be great for Republicans to not handle this like it's not important. The presidential elections, yes, are important, but we need to take the midterms very seriously. Leading up to the midterms, I am going to be speaking a lot about this leading up to the midterms. We're getting closer and closer. Right now, let's pivot to more leftist and Democrat hypocrisy. Okay. Now, you remember how Disney hasn't canceled Jimmy Kimmel's show. Remember that? Disney hasn't canceled his show. And everyone is screaming and claiming that, if they do that, they'll be attacking his free speech. A couple of years back, or a few years back in 2020, Disney banned a Trump supporter for life for holding up a Trump 2020 sign on Splash Mountain. Yet, Jimmy Kimmel still has a job after calling First Lady Melania Trump an expectant widow. It is double standards on steroids. Here's the
A diehard Trump supporter displayed his love for the president. He says tells Diane McInerney that he was banned from Disney World for life.
Call it Backlash Mountain. This Disney superfan says he was banned from Disney World after raising a Trump 2020 banner on Splash Mountain.
So Disney essentially is being hypocritical. They would ban someone for holding up a Trump sign, a Trump campaign sign. They would ban them for life. He didn't call for anyone to be, he didn't joke about anyone being an expectant widow or anything, but he was banned for life. I found something else while I was looking at this, okay? And here's a weird report I didn't know was out there. If you remember this report, let me know in the chat, because I was shocked to see this, okay? Now, this comment says, remember the rodeo clown that the left melted down over. Now, I did not know that this story was out there. Rodeo clown banned over Obama bit receiving death threats. Now, this story was published on August 27th, 2013. It says a rodeo clown banned for life. Again, another person banned for life from the Missouri State Fair for asking spectators if they wanted to see another performer in a President Obama mask get run down by a bull. Says he's received 5 death threats since the incident. I've had somebody threaten to run me over. One of them wanted to burn the house down. Tuffy Gessling said in an interview with Kansas City CBS affiliate KCTV. This story is out there. So when these leftists try to tell us, oh no, you can't cancel someone's show simply because they made a joke. This was a clown. This was a clown who was banned for life. These people, guys, are hypocrites. They are hypocrites. You can't trust a single word that they say because they turn right around when it is convenient for them and change their tune. Look at this other clown, okay? Mehdi Hassan. Now, CNN banned someone from CNN, from ever showing up on CNN for making a beeper joke. Democrats are the ultimate hypocrites. But it's just a joke when Jimmy Kimmel does it. So let's play this, okay? So this is, look, it's out there and they don't want us to see it. It's out there, guys.
If you don't want to be called Nazis, stop doing.
You're called an anti-Semite more than anyone else at this table.
Yeah.
And people will sit there and no, by me, I never called you an anti-Semite. I mean, I'm not sitting here saying
I'm a supporter of the Palestinians. I'm used to it.
Yeah, I hope your beeper doesn't go off. The thing is that
you just say I should die?
You should not.
No,
did you just say I should be killed?
No, I did not say that. No, I did not say that.
Do you see how outraged they all feel? All the leftists at the table. Wasn't that a joke? Wasn't that a joke? Look at his face. Okay, I thought they were the proponents of free speech. Oh, it's just a joke. Jimmy Kimmel telling Melania, or joking about Melania looking like an expectant widow. Oh, does he mean that he wants Trump to die? Oh, no, he's just making a joke. Well, the guy was just making a joke, but all of you just had a spectacular meltdown. Look at Mehdi Hassan's face. Look, guys, don't take these guys seriously. Stop taking them seriously. When they say the sun is shining, just believe the opposite. I'm telling you the truth. Just don't take them seriously at all. When they feign outrage, just know that if the shoe was on the other foot, they would double down, just like what you're seeing with Jimmy Kimmel. Meanwhile, if they were the ones in power, they would cancel you. They will make sure you never worked ever again in the industry. They would flex their power to the extreme. That is who these people are. All right. It is so crazy that we have to deal with this level of hypocrisy. But I'm grateful that what we're doing with the internet is finding all of these stories and the evidence and essentially exposing it for the world to see. Because while the meltdown over Jimmy Kimmel's, calls for Jimmy Kimmel to be fired is, out there and people are like losing their minds over it. For me, it's more like, okay, so you guys are out there calling for Trump to tone down the rhetoric. Now, what does toning down the rhetoric mean? Okay, so Jimmy Kimmel should go ahead and keep saying what he's saying, and then Trump should simply not say anything. That's what they mean by tone down the rhetoric. You shut up, don't say anything. That is toning down the rhetoric. They don't like it when you talk back. They don't like it when you talk back and when you provide evidence, hard fact that they are insane. They don't like it. So toning down the rhetoric is simply allowing them to continue their insanity and to force that insanity on the rest of us. That is toning down the rhetoric. So guys, toning down the temperature. Sorry, that's what I meant to say. So it's just frustrating to just watch the hypocrisy, watch the double standards, and watch Chuck Schumer because Chuck Schumer is having a full-on meltdown over President Trump fixing up the White House ballroom. So President Trump there was an assassination attempt on the president, and he says, okay, It's time for us to fix this. We can't have people who are coming for a state event, whether it is the White House Correspondents' Dinner or hosting the King of Britain or the King of the Commonwealth, and we can't have an event in a secure location. The White House is the most secure place on the planet. Let's build the ballroom. And then he's having a meltdown.
There's been some discussion about the idea of including ballroom funding in reconciliation or in DHS funding. Is there any appetite amongst Democrats to either approve it without funding or to approve it with taxpayer funding? And also, just a follow-up, can you tell us what happened to your forehead?
Yeah.
Sorry to ask, but just it's a
closet door was open late at night. It met my forehead.
yeah, okay.
In answer to your
So Democrats have a funny way of talking about inanimate things. The closet met his forehead. It's just like when they say the gun went off. Not that the criminal fired the weapon, it went off. So because the gun has to be the problem. The inanimate object has to be the problem, not the fact that he wasn't looking where he was going. Okay, so you need to be able to put your finger or your thumb on the way leftists address inanimate objects, as if there's no responsibility on their part for what happened.
more important question. No, we don't need this ballroom. You want to help national security? The ballroom has nothing to do with it. Help national security by funding DHS.
The ballroom is already funded by donations. So what is he talking about?
We don't want to fund it. We don't want to approve it. It is not necessary. It's typical of what is wrong with Donald Trump, focusing on the wrong things that appease his ego and don't help the American people one bit.
So that's another loser on the Democrat Party, essentially having a public meltdown because they didn't get what they wanted from the shutdown. Chuck Schumer, one of the most useless, do-nothing, blood-sucking parasites in government for over 40 years, and if he wants to get reelected, guess what? He's going to get reelected. That is why it's so important for Republicans to get out and vote during the midterms. It is so important. Now, let's catch up with the story with Minnesota. Okay. Nick Shirley, happy Layering Day. Today, the Layering Center and 21 other fraudulent businesses were raided by the FBI. Okay, so let's listen to this quick report. We're not going to watch the whole thing, but let's just catch up on where the story is currently.
It is officially National Layering Day. The Layering Center has officially been raided, and play the clip.
Now, large-scale raids targeting federal fraud currently underway. Federal agents seen leaving the Quality Learning Center.
Take a look at this video here. Sources tell Fox that federal agents are raiding about 22 businesses across Minneapolis this morning, and sources say many of them are tied to Somali-owned operations. All of this comes after that viral YouTube video from Nick Shirley. It was back in December. In that video, he visited different child care centers, and you'll remember they were either closed or there were just no children inside, despite receiving state child care funding. Now, the location that you're looking at right now, it's the Quality Learning Center. This is the daycare. It went viral. It blew up on social media because of a sign outside with learning that was literally misspelled. Looks like we got a statement from DHS sharing, quote, Homeland Security investigations in cooperation with our law enforcement partners executed criminal search warrants in Minneapolis relating to the rampant fraud of U.S. taxpayers' dollars.
So there you have it. Over 20 businesses were raided by the FBI and HSI today because of fraud that took place. They had 22 search warrants for primarily Somali-ran businesses because it just so happens to be that a lot of the businesses in Minnesota that were fraudulent were ran by Somalians. And now we're going to talk about these locations that were raided, but I do think it is super important that we talk about somebody who's trying to claim credit for the fraud being exposed, and that is Tim Walz. Tim Walz actually said at the height of this fraud that no evidence of fraud was taking place in Minnesota.
Okay.
However, today, Tim Walz is saying something completely different, trying to take credit for the fraud being exposed. And this is what Tim Walz had to say on X today. He said, if you commit fraud in Minnesota, you are going to get caught. And that's exactly what we saw today. We catch criminals when state and federal agencies share information, joint investigations work, and securing justice depends on it. He then said, today's raids by state and federal law enforcement happened because our state agencies caught irregular behavior and reported it. That is a complete lie. Then he says, that's how the system is supposed to work, and our agencies will keep at it as long as there are fraudsters around to put behind bars. Well, Tim actually might have to get put behind bars because he enabled all this fraud to take place underneath his leadership in Minnesota. And just
so essentially, the FBI is finally doing something about the fraud in Minnesota. Now, back to what Tim Walz is attempting to do. This is a classic Democrat strategy. They want to talk and act in a way that deflects from what's going on and then gaslight you into believing that something isn't what it really is. During the height of this controversy, Tim Walz was on social media. He was doing press conferences. He was having interviews claiming that this was all political. It was an attack. Nick Shirley was a weirdo that just wanted to go and sniff kids. No, that was Joe Biden, not Nick Shirley. And they kept pushing this narrative. CNN was sent to Minnesota not to cover the fraud, but to figure out a way to discredit Nick Shirley, because Nick Shirley had been covering the fraud. They didn't want to cover it, but when the story blew up and got too big, they had to cover it. I had that video queued up. They had to cover it, and instead of them covering the story that there was fraud in Minnesota, CNN was covering a story that essentially was, Nick Shirley, claims like there's fraud. Is there fraud? Like, they weren't covering the story. All they wanted to do was figure out a way, an angle to discredit Nick Shirley. I'm going to find that video and just play that strange, weird phone call. There it is. So this journalist, was sent not to investigate the fraud, but it was about investigating Nick Shirley, the citizen journalist who broke the story. Okay, I know people say you can't hate the media enough, but I don't say that, but it's just insane to watch the world we live in today. And let's watch this video.
CNN is looking into Shirley's claims.
Hi, my name's Whitney Wild. I'm a correspondent for CNN.
Not into the fraud.
We reached out to several of the daycares featured in the now viral video. Only one daycare facility answered and said they are a legitimate business.
Have you seen the videos, purporting that some of these daycares don't have kids inside?
Minnesota Republicans say despite the new focus from the Trump administration.
So you get a story that there's this crook, that they committed all these crimes. And then you pick up your phone and call the crook. And then you say, hello, yeah, this is CNN. Yeah, how are you doing? We're fine. So I have a few questions for you. Are you a crook? Okay, that's exactly what CNN did. I don't trust them. I don't even trust Fox News. I don't trust Fox News. Some of you might love Fox News. That's fine. I don't trust Fox News. Corporate media always has an agenda. Sometimes the agenda aligns with what you want. But like we saw a few weeks back, when it doesn't align with what the big corporations want, like we saw with the influencers, the conservative influencers, the Alex Joneses, Tucker Carlsons, and so on, Megyn Kelly's, when it wasn't convenient to partner with Trump. It was bad for the brand. They turned on Trump. They turned on you. They turned on me, trying to convince us. You had Nick Fuentes this week encouraging conservatives to vote for Democrats, the party of abortion, the party of open borders, the party that wants to terrorize you and me for speaking up and telling the truth, the party that wants boys in girls' bathrooms, the party that wants boys to play in women's sports and take away their dreams, the party that wants to protect criminal aliens who have committed crimes against citizens of the country and even members of the minority communities, the same illegal aliens who are criminals who essentially assaulted young girls all the way up the trail into their arrival into the United States. That's who Nick Fuentes wants us to vote for. You know, covering these stories can be tough because you're looking into the eyes of people that, like, whether you like it or not, you can't trust everyone. You can't even trust me. Okay, what I would invite you to do is trust the facts. Trust the facts. If I begin to present stories to you that don't have any facts, and I'm pressing you to believe me, just trust me, bro. It's the way it is because I said so. Okay? You have every right to walk away. You have every right to walk away. I saw a video of Megyn Kelly. Essentially, since the assassination attempt, I don't know if she's trying to, maybe she's seen the numbers and how conservative listeners have abandoned her, and she's trying to sanitize herself. It's not working. I saw her video and I was like, no, bye. I'm not interested. Now you're concerned that President Trump and other people were almost murdered and you're trying to cover that? No. That ship has sailed. Okay, now, I mean, she might be genuine, I don't know, but she's lost my trust because everything she said, not that what she said wasn't meant to be said, it was that what she said was not factual. She said that the president was being controlled by Netanyahu while the president was controlling Israel's permission to bomb Iran. Trump was literally telling them when they could bomb and when not to bomb. How is Israel controlling him if he's doing that? And then they kept pushing that he was insane and he had lost his mind and that he should be removed from office. You don't weaken your team because you got butthurt or because you get gun shy. You can't do what it takes to make changes in the country. I repeatedly say again and again how I'm not Trump. I don't have the temperament or the stomach for what he needs to do to get results. And neither are you watching, or Megyn Kelly, or Alex Jones, or Tucker Carlson. None of them has the stomach to do what it takes to save America and, by extension, save Western civilization. So if you can't do it, get out of the way. Let the man do his job. You might not like how he does it, but let him do his job. Guys, let me know your thoughts in the chat. Let's have a quick conversation over the news stories that we've covered. Okay. Today, I wouldn't call it a slow news day. There's been a lot happening, but because you don't see the fireworks, it looks like, okay, not much is going on. Okay, the fireworks like the assassination attempt is nice and flashy. But you know what? The Supreme Court ruling against the Democrats who tried to gerrymander along racial lines is a bombshell of a story, because the states go from looking like this on the left to looking like this on the right. What does that say for the midterms? It tells you that the Republicans retain the majority in the House and Senate. It also tells you that the potential for presidential elections, gubernatorial elections going forward is stunning. It looks very encouraging for Republicans. So it's a huge story. It's not sexy, but it's a huge story. I mean, so now I'm going to end the polls, okay? And I'm going to ask you guys a very pointed question. So everyone on both sides thinks that James Comey's photo was essentially an incitement to violence or a call to violence, okay? So you guys, thank you for your answer. Now I'm going to put up another poll, and I'm going to ask a question, all right? I hope I remember the question I'm about to ask. Jeez. I should write these things down, okay, so I can say them the way it comes to mind. Let's see. Oh my goodness, does it ever happen to you like you think of something and then it just skips your mind? Jeez. Okay, I'll remember the question that I was about to ask in a moment, but all right, so let me ask this, okay? With the changes in the congressional seats, do you think that the Republican Party will be able to capitalize on this with what you've seen so far with the Republican Party? With the changes that are coming based on this Supreme Court ruling, do you think that the Republican Party, as we've seen them perform in the last year, will take advantage of this opportunity? The SAVE Act hasn't even been tabled. It hasn't even been presented. The SAVE Act essentially secures, to a large degree, elections in the United States by requiring voter ID. Every country on the planet, including third world countries, third world shithole countries, require voter ID. It is not racist. It is not Jim Crow. Everyone requires it on the planet. So how come the Democrats want to block it? It is because they've been cheating for years. That is what I think. I don't have the evidence. I don't have the hard evidence. But it is inferred by the way they've opposed the SAVE Act. So quickly, let me know in the poll, do you think the Republicans will capitalize on this with what you've seen over the last year? Okay? Go. And then, You guys are really quiet tonight. You guys are really quiet. I wish I could stir you guys up, but I'm not gonna do it. I don't like stirring people up for no reason. All right. Right, I'm waiting on the polls. Okay, now I saw this advert and I thought it was fun. Okay, so this is an advert by one of the governor. He's running for mayor of Los Angeles. Okay, so let's watch this while I wait on the results from the poll. Okay, so here's it.
This is where Mayor Bass lives. You notice something? Or here, where Nithya Raman's $3 million mansion sits. They don't have to live in the mess they've created where you live. This is where I live. They let my home burn down. I know what the consequences of failed leadership are. That's why I'm running for mayor. For my sons and the rest of us Angelinos that want to stop these corrupt politicians from destroying our city. We are going to get the golden age of Los Angeles back.
What do you think about that ad, guys? That's a good ad. That is a good ad. Okay, simply show the consequences of these insane Democrat policies. And then look and simply say, look, let's do it differently. Let's do something different. I love the ad. I loved it so much. I said, okay, well, let me risk playing it and finding out what you guys think of the ad. People voted for President Trump because they were fed up with Barack Obama. There was hope. There was a lot of feelings. There was, the audacity of hope, the American dream. And then he came and he just ruined everything for everyone. Okay? It was all about feelings. It was all about vibes. And he came in and just shot the bed. Okay? And he didn't even have the courtesy of using a poop bag to pick it up. He sat in it and smeared it into the sheets. Okay, all right. So that's a gross way of putting it, but that's how it feels to me. It's like, look, guy, you had the opportunity of a lifetime to open doors for future black presidents, to say, look, we are people who are people of class, we're people of integrity, we're people who call it out as it is. And he just went in there and just made it all about DEI and racism. All right. So, okay. So that, I think this was a good ad. This was a good ad. All right. So I'm waiting on you guys to bring in the votes if you guys are done, and then let's see. Okay. All right. I'm not missing anything. I'm just trying to wait for a couple of minutes for you. Anyway, so all right, we're landing the plane. Wellness check. Hope Gardening LSB is doing great. I haven't seen you in the chat. I know you watch from your screen, so I'm not going to press it, but it'll be great to know how you're doing. You're still on my heart. Tony, are you still up? I know Tony is working. I'm sure he's doing one of his paintings, and he's watching right now. Who else? Because I want to do it. I want to do a roll call. Okay. So if you're up and you're watching, I just want to know. I just want to know that you're watching, because I'm calling out my people. And if you're watching, just type in the chat so I can see that you're here with me. All right. We need to stick together and keep this going. All right. So I like to know who's online. So that I'm kind of comfortable about what I'm going to say next. Okay, so my tomorrow is anyway. It doesn't matter. Tomorrow my kids are going to be having their last school day for the week, so they're going to be home on Friday. But that doesn't mean that we're not going to have a live stream on Friday. I told you that I was going to pick one of the days of the week as my Sabbath, my day of rest. And I'm thinking that I will let you guys know when it will be, either the next live stream or the one we do on Friday. So I just wanted to give you guys a heads up on that. All right. So I've been picking up a lot of culture war content in my feed, and I want to know if you guys are comfortable with culture war conversations. If you don't know what culture war conversations are, they essentially revolve around things like trans ideology conversations, separation of church and state. That might appear to be politics, but it's actually a culture war issue. things like boys and girls bathrooms and the arguments that people are having for or against it on the streets, and so on. So are you comfortable with us bringing in some of the culture war conversations? Because I see a lot of that in my feed, and I'm like, I like watching these because you need to know who is voting right alongside you. Okay, there are a bunch of people out there that don't believe the same thing you do. They don't believe the same thing you do. They would look at a country like Iran. Okay, for example, here is one of those culture war videos that I mentioned. All right, so here's a very simple question. Should be a no-brainer for any American or for anyone who lives in the West. But here's the answer that most college-educated women gave.
Liberal supports Iran over America.
Being pro-women's rights, who do you think is more for women's rights? The Trump administration or the Iranian regime?
I'm against Trump, so I guess I'll go Iranian regime if it's between the two.
As a woman, who do you think is more pro-women's rights? The Trump administration or the Iranian regime?
I don't know what that is.
Iran is in the Middle East.
That's well, probably not the Trump. I mean, I can definitely say for sure it's not the Trump administration.
What rights do women have in Iran that they don't have here? What rights do we not have here as women?
Well,
guys, these are college educated, or at least they're attempting to get an education, but instead of getting educated, they are getting an indoctrination. One of these women doesn't even know where Iran is. They don't even know where Iran is. So universities have essentially become indoctrination centers.
I'm sorry, I don't want to be in this anymore. Okay, if I had to pick, probably Iranian militarization. Like Trump is just.
Man, she sounds high. She sounds high. Is it that she's high, or she has a septum piercing that is keeping her from breathing properly?
Evil in so many ways, yeah.
Okay, so do you think the Iranian regime is more pro women's rights?
Yeah.
What? Yeah, so that's what's out there, guys. That is what's out there. People who literally believe that Iran is more pro women's rights than the Trump administration. That's what. So these people would vote and support Iran. They will vote for anyone who opposes Trump, including the Iranian regime. They would support Iran. They would call for more soldiers to be killed in the Middle East so that Iran would win. These are the people who root for Iran. That's who you're dealing with, right? And that's who's voting alongside you, right? So I was talking with Tony a couple of days back, some days back, and I was like, look, Tony, I feel like, okay, and let me know in the chat, some of you may not like what I'm about to say, okay? You may not like what I'm about to say, you might hate it, you might even not like me much after I say this. I said, I think that there has to be a law where if you're a drug user, if you have a history of drug use, or you have a mental illness, or you don't own property, you shouldn't be allowed to vote. Because only people who have these kinds of what's the word? Who have these qualities, you don't have any stake in America. You don't have skin in the game. You have a mental illness. You're not seeing things properly. You're not seeing things straight. You're not seeing straight. And then you're high most of the time. You're on drugs most of the time. Like you wouldn't allow someone who is inebriated to drive. You wouldn't allow someone, you put them in jail for driving while they are under the influence. Why would you trust them to vote for the leader, or sorry, for the next leader of the free world, or for the next governor, or for the next judge? Why? But only in America can you say, well, you're inebriated, you're not allowed to drive, but you're allowed to vote. You have a mental health problem that might make you a danger behind the steering wheel. Oh, but go ahead and vote. I don't want to mention the third one because it's very touchy. Not everybody is a property owner. Not everybody is. But you have to have skin in the game in order to make the right kind of decision for the country. Once you start paying taxes, you vote differently. You vote very differently. Okay. Liberals who don't have jobs, who aren't married, who don't have property, they don't have to pay property tax and so on. They vote any which way they like because they don't get the consequences of their decisions or of their votes. They don't. They just coast. The government continues to subsidize their irresponsibility. And so they're fine. They keep voting for the party that's subsidizing their irresponsibility. So yeah, guys, it's weird. All right. Okay. Now, I want to ask a question. Okay. None of you has responded in the polls. It's weird. Okay. I'm talking to you guys. It's weird. I'm like, where are my people? Okay. So, one more question. All right. Is the time belt of the live streams working for you? It's quite late over here. Okay. I go live at midnight my time. Most of you are an hour behind me. If we were to make it earlier, all right, and if you're watching, you can put this in the chat. You can post a comment, okay, that I'll see later. Just tell me a range that would also work for you. If this is too late in the day for you to catch, just give me the best time for you. I just want to talk with you guys and know what the best time is. YouTube analytics gives me some hours that work. I have a family and I'm trying to be present for my wife and kids. So I decided that I would wait until everyone is asleep before I do any live streaming. And that's why I pushed the live streams to much later. But I wanted to let me know what time could work for you earlier in the evening, and tell me what your time zone is. If you're watching this right now, please do. If you're watching it after the fact, you can let me know in the comments. And then I would like to kind of do a sample to kind of see, okay, this is what really works for you guys. And I'd like to, work with that. Okay. So, okay. So I've waited long enough for the poll to run. And most of you, I have this feeling that some of you are basically snoring right now because it's so late. That's how it feels. And I feel like, okay, that's a weird feeling. Like I'm talking and you guys are just snoring, but you guys are awake. You're watching on your TV screens. I know that's what's going on. So don't worry about it. All right, guys, we're going to call it a night. Okay. There's been conversations around, the Supreme Court ruling, Obama's response, Pete Hexet's hearing, and our reactions to that. We also talked about the grand jury indictment on the people who assaulted Savannah Hernandez in Minnesota. Minnesota refused to do anything about it. The federal government has taken up the case, and we're going to see fireworks. Of course, we're going to start hearing how this is essentially people who have power, throwing their weight around because they're connected to power on on the little peons who don't have anybody. Well, the peons shouldn't have picked a fight with somebody they just met on the street filming B-roll of an ICE facility. So there's that story. So guys, let me know what you think about everything that we discussed. We're going to be back tomorrow for yet another live stream. I'll let you guys know in the community post, when we're going to be going live next. I might make it earlier since the kids are essentially not going to be attending school the day after that, and maybe you just figure out how we're going to be doing it. All right, so I can't do my roll call. Tony has been in the chat. Thank you, Tony, for making this episode interesting with your comments and with your contributions in the chat. Thank you so much. Gardening LSB, I know you're watching, so keep resting, and I'm still praying for you. And everyone else who is a regular on the stream, love you guys, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.